Welcome back to another set of mathematics, alright? So now we have another problem. And this is now a triangular prism. So now our objective here is to solve for the volume and surface area of the triangular prism. Now here's how you do it. We have a bit of a problem when it comes to the triangle, because for the triangle, all we have to do is to get the shape. Alright? Because remember, look, we're given the angles, but we're not given the measures. However, even though we are given the angles but not the measures, there's a game that we can play to make life easier. And that's, yup, you got it, the SOHCAHTOA. Alright? So let's solve for the angles first. If we know that this angle is 50 degrees, then this one's 80, that brings up to the summation of 130. So what must be the measure of the remnant angle? Very good. The remnant angle must measure 50 degrees. So did you know that this is an isosceles triangle? That looks like this, alright? Isosceles. Diba? To double check, is it 50 degrees? Yes, correct. 50. 50. And this is 80. Very good. Now that we've already solved for the area of the angles, all we have to do is to draw a line. Diba remember when you draw a line, you're going to find the base. Tama? Kasi we need to get the height. If this is the base is 5.8, we need to get the height. So how do we get the height? Madali lang yan. I-part na namin. Just like this. Wait lang, I'll draw it for you. So yan. This one here, ito yung height. Okay? Ito yung height. This is the height. Now, if we got the height, we can now part it. Diba remember this is 90 degrees, tama? 90 degrees too. So 90, 50, and what's the measure of the remnant angle? This one here is 40 degrees. Then this one is 10. Tama? Now, we can now place SOHCAHTOA. Alright? We can now place SOHCAHTOA based on this triangle that you see here. So remember, we have 50 degrees here and we have 5.8. So we need to get the measure of the height. How do you get the height? Remember, if this is the angle that you're working on, the 50 degrees, do I remember this is the opposite. This is the hypotenuse and this is the adjacent. Pero take note that this is only for right triangles because 5.8 pertains to the entire thing. So I have a trick just for you. Let's try to get another measure and find out. Let's try getting one measure right over here. Kukunin namin yung hypotenuse. Yan, ang hypotenuse namin ay 7.7 cm. 7 cm. So now we can already get the adjacent and the hypotenuse. So how do we do this? Madali lang yan. Diba remember you have a right triangle that looks like this, tama? Ito yung right triangle mo. This 7.7 cm, this is the right angle, this is 40 degrees, this is 50, alright? So now let's get the measure of each. So if we want to get this measure here, we need to play the SOHCAHTOA. So, diba remember, this is your adjacent, this is your hypotenuse, diba? Ito yung hypotenuse namin. This is the adjacent. And then this is the opposite. Tama? So, you're given the hypotenuse, and then we need to look for the adjacent. If you're gonna work with this angle, ito yun. But what you is, I want this angle muna, the 50. So, ito yung adjacent namin. So, ito yung A, ito yung H, ito yung O. Alright? So, adjacent of 50. So, diba, you remember, if we're gonna look for the adjacent, hypotenuse over adjacent, ano yung sign? Ano yung function? So, SOHCAHTOA. It's Ka. C-A-H. Adjacent over hypotenuse. So, therefore, the cosine of the angle 50 degrees is equivalent to adjacent, which we don't know, over 7.7. Applying our ratio and proportion, we multiply both sides by 7.7. Hence, we have 7.7 times the cosine is equivalent to A. Now, we plug this into our calculator para kukunin namin yung sagot. Okay, so ito yung calculator namin. So, therefore, what we did is this. 10.7 times the cosine of 50 degrees. And we should get an answer of 4.94. Or you can simply round it off to 4.95. So, 4.95 to, okay? To double check with your ruler, where is it na? Yeah, malapit siya sa 5. Auto malapit na. So, therefore, it's 4.95. Alright? And then, 5.8 minus 4.95. So, ganito siya. 5.8 applying given the change mentally. 5, 17, 8. Tama, it's 0.85. So, 0.85 to Check ko lang Tama, 0.85. So that's the measure of the last angle. 0.85 centimeters. Alright? So now we already got the measures, alright? Now we need to get the height. But actually, we don't care about that because we need to get the height. Yun talaga yung pinaka-importante. So now we need to get the height. Paano kukunin yung height? Yan. We can either do adjacent over opposite. And that's the sine function. So therefore, ang function namin ay sine. Diba remember sine of what angle do you want? Diba remember ito yung adjacent, the angle that you're working on. Sine of 50 is equivalent to, what's the measure? Opposite over hypotenuse. O over 7.7. Then multiply both sides by 7.7. So therefore, it will be 7.7 sine of 50 equals O. Alright? So let's plug this in into our calculator para napin namin yung sagot. Alright? So yan. So we have the sine of 50 times 7.7. Yan. Our height should measure 5.89. 5.89 which is simply almost to 5.9. Nasa na yan? Tama. 5.8. Malapit na. 5.9. Yan. We got it. Now we can already solve for the surface area and volume. To solve for the surface area, madali lang yan. By the way, there are lots of other ways on how you can get that number. Pero what you hold is, if you want me to show that to you, next time na lang. Kasi po I'm in a hurry right now. Alright? So yan. So now let's do this. Diba remember, we do surface area. And in a triangular prism, you need to have 5 faces. So one face is the triangular base. So you have 5.8 times 5.9, which is the base times the height. But you don't need to divide by 2 and multiply by 2 anymore because it's already implied that it's already easy already, okay? And there are 2 triangles that are congruent if I had to insinuate. So, alright? So, this becomes 72, 5 times 9, 45, 52, 5 times 8, 40. Yan. 34.22. So, 5.8 times 5.9. Yan. 34.22. That's for the 2 triangles. Yeah. That's why it's also important to get the measure of sides. Kasi remember, we have to multiply it by the height. Take note that this is a scalene triangle. So, we have 7.7 here. And we don't know what's the measure of this angle here. But we can still place SOHCAHTOA for this matter. Alright? So, we need to get the hypotenuse to the right side. So, we're given 5.9 as the height. And we need to find the hypotenuse on the other side. So, therefore, what formula are we going to use for that? Do you remember? This is the hypotenuse. This is your opposite. So, if you're going to use 80 degrees, so therefore, it's the sine. Sine of 80. So, therefore, ganito yung formula. Sine of 80 is equivalent to the opposite, which is 5.9 over the hypotenuse. So, multiplying both sides. So, multiplying both sides by h. Therefore, you get sine of 80 is equivalent of h is equivalent to 5.9. Divide both sides by the sine of 80. So therefore, h is equivalent to 5.9 over sine of 80. Alright? Plug this into our calculator. It would go like this. 5.9 divided by the sine of 80 degrees. What did we get? 5.99, which is somewhat to 6. Tama ba? Let's double check and see. Check with the ruler para malaman namin yung sagot. Yan, tama. Malapit na. It's 6, alright? Although it may not get the accurate measure, pero okay lang yan. So that is 6. So now we already got the measure for each. Now let's get the measure of every rectangle. So we know the 3 dimensions. 6, 7.7, and 5.8. Alright? Or what you can do, you can just get the perimeter of everything and then multiply that by the height. That's also another way that you can do. Either way, you will still get the same answer. Because if I remember, it's just like an algebra like this. If I remember, you have 3 plus 2 plus 1, then all multiplied by 4. You sum this up, this will be 5 plus 1, 6. Then 6 times 4 is 24. You still get the same answer. It will still yield you to the same answer pa rin. Alright? Now, if you take it separately, 4 times 3 is 12, distribute. 4 times 2 is 8. 4 times 1. So, 12 plus 8, 20. You still get the same answer. So, para mas madali, isum up na everything. You sum up everything. 7.7 plus 5.8. This becomes, ano to? Sige, 1 plus 7, 13.5. Then plus 6, 19.5. Then 19.5 times 3.3. Alright? 5 times 3 is 15. 3 times 9, 27, 28. 3 times 1, 585. So we still get the same answer. Then add this up all together. 13, 14. Yan. Check with the calculator kung tama. Okay? Yan. Then multiply by 3.3. Tama. That's the perimeter. And then we add it with our base. Remember what's the area of the base? Plus 5.8 times 5.9. That should be our surface area. 98.57 square cm. Alright? And now to solve for the volume. To solve for the volume, madali lang yan. 5.8 times 5.9. Divide by 2. Get the area of one triangle. And then multiply that by the height. Yan. So your volume is 56.43. So volume is 56.43 cubic cm. Then if you convert that to liters, divide your answer by 1,000. Or in short, shift the decimal places 3 to the left. And you should get 0.05463. Yun lang.